Karen, thank you so much for being with me today. It's great to be with you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I cannot wait for this conversation. Thank you, David.
Yeah, I love to start off with a question to kind of get people's juices flowing. And so, the question that I want to ask you is if someone is thinking about writing a book, because a lot of people tell me, oh, I feel like I'm
Mhm.
supposed to write a book. What encouragement would you give them?
Well, I was that person one day, David, and it was the main thing I had to do was make a choice and just decide and commit to it, and then just dedicate some time to writing. Because if you don't have time to write, how are you supposed to write a book? You know, the biggest thing, especially for a nonfiction book, is your content page. If you work on your framework, then you will feel prepared for the book writing journey, because within us all we have the story, we have the content. So you already have it within you. You just need to action it and get it out there. So just go for it, commit to it, and get writing.
I love it. I love it. Before we dive into your backstory in terms of your own awakening, I
Mhm.
detect a little accent here with us. Tell people where you grew up and where you live now.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I grew up in Ireland. I love Ireland. I am there for a good portion of the year, even now. But I have been living the past 17 years in Australia with my family. I moved here with two boys, and we now have two boys and four girls. So we everything turned pink when we came to Australia. It's beautiful. I'm very blessed to live. My heart's in two lands, David.
Amazing. What two very different places, that is for sure.
Absolutely. We're cooking here in a heat wave at the moment, and everyone's freezing in Ireland. So there we go.
Well, I'm in Southern California, so through the power of technology, we get to be friends and connect with people. I love that. Tell me about your own story of awakening to consciousness, mindfulness, spirituality. I always love hearing about someone's upbringing if faith or spirituality was a part of that beginning stages of your life. How about for you?
Mm. So I grew up Irish Catholic. So I went to school. I just went through the motions. We had religion class and all of the stuff, but I never really got to the core. The love, the energy, the source kind of energy. It was just something we had to do. Like religion class was boring, is what we felt. But when I went through my own awakening, which kind of came out of, I suppose I've always been connected to Source just in my own way. That's one of the things awakening made me realize, because I would always have conversations with God, just go, oh, please guide me through this or whatever. But it would be personal. It wouldn't be, going to Mass and doing it there kind of thing. Our household was not very religious, but we did get christened and communions and confirmations, and we went to all the weddings and all the things. So we embraced the celebration, I suppose, of our culture and our faith. But whenever I went through a dark time in life, David, and I went through PTSD, and that was happened lasted for about 14 months. I was lucky that I had worked in mental health for 4 years, so I understood what was happening to me, even though I didn't like it. So I call it my cocoon period. I went inwards, I done the work, and I was blessed to be able to come out. And my awakening, whenever you've got PTSD, you don't feel emotion. So how are you supposed to attract beautiful things into your life? But I did the work, and then I endured a double miscarriage, and that broke my heart. But one of the things that it did was it helped me to start feeling again, start dreaming again, and start wishing for things, because I wish nothing more than to have another baby after that. A loss, you just want that void to be filled. So I was blessed. Straight away, we got pregnant again with my daughter. And then life just took a turn. My thoughts were very positive, were very, just everything started to happen right. Whenever you've went through a dark period and then there's so much light and goodness and wonderful things, you're going to embrace that and run with it. And then I realized all of these beautiful wisdoms were coming to me, and all of these beautiful things were coming to me. And I wasn't a writer. I did aspire to be a writer, but I wasn't a writer. I wasn't very good at English at school. It was the audacity of me to even consider it. There was no writers in my family. So, but I had this calling to share these wisdoms to the world. So after I was in Ireland whenever this all happened, and then we moved to Australia that very year as well. So as I said, everything happened this year, all the good things. And so we moved in September. I was 35 weeks pregnant with my daughter. I waddled my way here, and just all of these things were coming, all of these wisdoms, all of these epiphanies, all of these realizations. And I couldn't keep it within me. I had to share them. So I started writing down mindful musings, that I called them. And I started sharing them on a website. This was called Building Beautiful Bonds. That was before Facebook. And I was having a profound connection with people, and people were really resonating, and these articles were being picked up by magazines, a Universal Mind magazine, and one of them I wrote was called "Love Is the Answer," and that was picked up. It was just like, wow, I'm on to something here. I'm resonating. I'm getting to the hearts and minds of people, and I'm making a difference. So words became very powerful to me. So a very big part of my awakening was writing and connecting with the hearts of people. That's a long-winded answer to your question.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. In the process of you recovering from PTSD and you started having these wisdoms that were coming,
Mhm,
was there a particular mentor or author, speaker, course, experience, class, retreat, something that you
mhm.
went through or experienced that helped you through that time?
Oh, I suppose I got really curious, and please bear with me because I was I was I had just emigrated to a new country. I had just had my I was having my third child. I was very much home based, but I did have limited internet access. So I would go and because I needed to feed this curiosity, and was on definitely on a journey. So I remember I watched The Secret, and I also came across Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. Definitely the community I was in Building Beautiful Bonds, there was a few hundred women, and it was just the most beautiful community. And this is where all of this kind of information was coming. And I really resonated. And so then I done Dr. Joe Vitale's advanced law of attraction practitioner training, and I said, I'm going to have some fun with this. I'm not going to tell anybody that I've done it and I've achieved it. I'm just going to have fun with it and see what I can manifest in my life. And so I started to do that, and it was just wonderful. And so I'm a great believer in that we're giving these opportunities and gifts not just to keep them to ourselves. We're supposed to share our findings and what we discover with others so that they can possibly awaken to their own potential as well. My mission in life is to help um, help others awaken to their potential through this power of story. So that is just what I get up for every single day. So, and I have been doing this now for 14 years, David. I absolutely 15 this year. I love it because it changes lives. It changes lives.
So back in 2010,
Hmm.
you had your first book published. I don't know if you were writing that in 2009 or how
Yeah.
that all, I want to hear about that. What shifted from you have a blog, pre
Yeah.
Facebook blog, it sounds like, website, to then publishing a book? How did that transition take place?
Yeah. So during my I wrote the book during NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month in 2010. So that's when I wrote the book. I published it in 2012. It was published. The 2011 was the journey. So I had an epiphany about my double miscarriage. I never had the answer my heart longed for about why me. I had had two healthy boys. Why did I lose these babies? Why, it just broke my heart. No doctors were like, come on, Karen, this happened, come on, let's and my heart just couldn't accept that. And then I was watching The View, and Whoopi Goldberg was on The View, and there was a celebrity TV couple, reality TV couple, who had come on to The View, and they had endured a miscarriage, and it was very public because it was on the show and stuff like that. And the woman of the partnership was still obviously very distraught about it because when it was brought up. And I remember Whoopi Goldberg turning her back to the camera and just looking this woman in the eye. And she said, I am going to tell you something that I tell all of my friends that this happens to. This was a visitor that came to visit you, to ask you to get onto the right path in life. And when you do, your gift will come. Well, David, it was like I was hit with, I still get goosebumps now whenever I say it. Um, it was like I was being hit with a lightning bolt. And I was like, that is why I was so stuck in PTSD and couldn't get out of it. And this came to help me to shift and wake up back up to life again. And it did. And again, and I took action straight away. And my gift came. I got pregnant straight away with my daughter. And I just seen all of these things play out in my mind. And it was 2 days before NaNoWriMo started, and I didn't even know it existed. And then it came onto my radar, and I was like, this, I wrote a blog. It wasn't enough. I was like, how am I going to get this message out into the world? And my fourth child was 4 weeks old at the time. And I was like, surely the audacity of me to even think about writing a novel, a 50,000 word novel. Um, and all the babies I had to take care of. And I was like, do you know what? I have to do this. So I said to my husband at the time, you don't have a wife for a month. I will love our babies, but I am going to write 1,667 words every day for a month. And I'm going to write this story. I didn't know what was going to come. I wrote down quickly 20 possible chapter ideas, but this story wrote itself. I just showed up and I wrote 1,667 words every single day. I had broken keys on my keyboard, like I wasn't computer literate at the time. But there was such a will, such a passion to share this story. I created a realm called the Waiting Zone. Messengers would come from it down to earth, and they visited 5 women. It was fictional, but my story was interwoven into it, and it's a very special book. So yeah.
My goodness. And
Mm,
now you've written over 40 books over the
mhm,
last 14 years or so.
yeah.
Is there a particular book out of those 40 that holds a real special place in your heart, and why is that?
Oh, definitely The Visitor. Definitely. I just love that book so much because that book was such a big part of my, or is, it still is. It had its 10th anniversary a few years ago, and it was before its time, and people that read it have profound shifts, and it really helps with grief. There's what came channeled through me through that book is a gift to the world. And I went on to write 2 more books in that series. It just is such, it just came to me. So whenever something comes to you, it's a gift for us to share. So that book definitely um, was the one because it was also the catalyst into publishing for me, where I was able to help other people tell their stories.
And
Mm,
that really leads me to my next question is, how did you shift from being a writer to a publisher? How did that unfold?
okay. So I just want to prefix this with my studies are in humanities. I have a diploma in humanities, and that is where, so it's all about people, it's all about story for me. And coming from Ireland, stories are very much at the root of everything because if someone needed to be healed or educated or whatever it is, inspired, people would come around. Someone would have a cousin who would know somebody, or someone down the park, they would come along and have a cup of tea and share stories. And that's how we would learn, and that's how we would connect. So stories are so powerful for me. But the transition was I published the book with a self-publishing company, and it wasn't the best experience. It was just all about emptying my bank account, and I ended up with this book, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't have a clue. I just had this book. I didn't know anybody. I was a mum at home. I didn't have a big audience. I just didn't know what to do with it. How am I going to get this book out into the world? And then somebody asked me a question, and they said, Karen, could you help me publish my book? And I actually probably can, because I had learned so much. It was like a crash course. The self-publishing journey was like a crash course in publishing. And I asked so many questions, and it really ignited something within me, because for words to be turned into a book, that process just absolutely, and I learned everything so fast because I was so interested. So then I done some research and I found out that the print and distribution channel that my publisher had used opened up an office that very month in Melbourne. And so I made a sacred promise that if I applied and was accepted as a publisher with them, that I would show up and share stories with the world. And so I believe in serendipity, sacred promise. You know, obviously I was accepted and I've been on the journey since. So it's so special. And to be able to do that, it's an honor. I don't just publish books, I join people on the journey because it is a self development journey. Writing, publishing, and getting your book out into the world is a big journey.
And so over the last 14, 15 years, how many books have you helped be
Oh,
birthed into the world?
um, that we have published probably around 500. I've also coached and mentored a lot of publishers, so then their books are also part of that. So yeah, it's really special. So yeah, very blessed.
How did you go from this first book, you're helping this first individual get their book into the world to, all right, now I'm going to transition to kind of open the gates. Did you open the floodgates wide and try to get anybody and everybody? Did you go after a specific audience? I'm just curious how you
Yeah,
began to attract people that would want to receive your help.
yeah. Well, I don't do things small, David. I'm a big thinker. So after doing Joe Vitale's course, I was like, all right, I'm going to build $1 million press. So how do we do so that I can serve authors and serve stories into the world, that these stories that may never have been told had I not shown up for them or had they not come to me. So, how do you do that? You take the next step. So, an opportunity came, and there was like this subscription thing called iKoala that shared deals with their audience, and then people would buy the deal and they would earn a commission or whatever. And this iKoala deal came up. It was very low cost, like we were doing it for practically nothing, but it was creating cash flow for the business. And we had a lot of authors come in through there. So and I was all about the books and the stories and getting things sorted. So that's where we started, and so it was anybody who wanted our help, we helped. One of the first books that we did was. And we funded this ourselves, but it was for a guy who ran an African orphanage. It was called Prickle in a Dream, and so he had been an orphan himself, and then he grew up and built an orphanage, and so the joys of technology. He found his way to us and submitted his story, and so we helped him publish his book as well. So that was one of the first ones. So that's always a fond memory that comes up. But yeah, the passion and desire. I just had this burning desire, just or David, just to get this out into the world, get stories out into the world. So we did that, and we were learning publishing. We invested in one of the high tech packages of Adobe. In those days, you had to get a disc, and they posted it to you, and you put it into your computer. You couldn't just download a subscription online. It wasn't like that at that time. So and it just grew. Every next step was revealed to us along the way. And the goal of reaching the 1 million turnover happened in 7 years. And I thought it would take 25 years. So, yeah, it was beautiful.
Amazing.
Mhm.
You now have 3 publishing companies or imprints. I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure the right language there. Maybe you could teach me.
Yes.
Why would you do that versus just have 1?
Yeah. So they're each their own entity, so their own companies. So imprints would be like in Serenity Press, we've got a folklore division imprint, we've
Mhm.
got a children's division imprint, and then we've got Duchess Serenity Collection imprint underneath the Serenity Press. So Serenity Press is for children's books and also folklore. So that's the genre. So it doesn't the audience for that, and that's the audience we build there. And then KMD Books was born. It definitely came alive during COVID because a lot of business owners showed up to write their books during COVID and things like that. So KMD Books is for thought leaders, business books, all of that nonfiction, but definitely with the story connection interwoven into it. And we've also just recently branched out into cookbooks because there's a demand in that. So it's wonderful. And a lot of anthologies. Anthologies became our super fuel in helped a lot of business owners set up their own anthologies and become really So it's all about stories because the collective is very powerful in a book. And then MMH Press is my own passion project. That's where I publish my own books. And we have an amazing author in there who writes fantasy. Like, she's so prolific. Like, she's written millions and published millions of words. So she writes in fantasy. And then we have a crime writer as well, and then poetry writers who, and so it's just that platform for someone to come into authorship, get some books published, build up a bit of a repertoire, and then to go and out into the bigger publishers then. So it really works beautifully. So
Can you help us understand the publishing world maybe now with some of the language that
yeah,
I hear? So you've got self-publishing, you've
yes,
got what maybe someone would call like a vanity press,
yeah.
and then you've got publishing companies. I don't know the stratosphere of kind of how that breaks down. Would you mind educating us on that?
Absolutely. I love giving clarity to this because a lot of people do, it is confusing. So, self publishing is where, and there's lots of opportunities in self publishing. Whenever I started out 15 years ago compared to now, like the whole landscape of that has changed. It's so much more, there's so many success stories in self publishing. And the big thing about self publishing is produce an industry standard book. Don't cut back on cover design. Don't cut back on editing. Editing is such an important part of the process. The best of authors get edited, and then you can use different types of platforms. As a self-published author, to get out there, Kindle Direct Publishing is very much, and you get your book out there into the world. Ingram, Spark as well are very. You can go and check those out and do it all yourself. So then you've got, I call it hybrid publishing. Some people call it vanity press, where you hire someone like me to represent you. We have connections. We have built up a database of connections and also, stores. And we also, with self-publishing, you can't really get into bookstores. You need a distributor. So we have our external distributor that brings books to bookstores and things like that. So you would be hiring us to represent you. But we are selective and it has to be genre based. And we really look at the story, yes, well, we can work a story, but we look at the person, the author that we're bringing on, and see their potential and have they got a positive attitude towards because it's going to take that to get through the process of writing, publishing, and getting your book out into the world. So, yeah. And
Mhm.
then you've got traditional publishing, which is like the big five or the bigger publishers who you can pitch, usually through an agent, to one of them. And then if you get through it, it's a very lengthy process. And you will be pitched to an agent or through an agent to a publisher. And if they offer you a contract, then they take on your book and you kind of lose control on it, but they will then represent you and can get your book out there more as well. And it's always a wonderful thing for people who it helps you build up an audience that way as well.
So with a hybrid publisher, as you
Mhm.
called it, uh, I'm assuming there is an investment on the part of the
Yeah.
author for these services.
Yes.
And then is there, in terms of like the marketing part of that, because I know that seems like a big issue.
Mhm.
I've published a dozen books or so myself. They've all been through KDP. And just so people, if you're not familiar, Kindle Direct Publishing is not just for Kindle. People oftentimes think
Yes.
that's just for Kindle, but you can publish through hardback and paperback through KDP as well as Kindle. But with the hybrid publishing, there's an investment from the author. What do you deliver? Like, what is the delivery? I guess delivery,
Mhm.
maybe not word. The benefit of going with a hybrid versus you touched on that a little bit in terms
Yeah.
of going through a bookstore, but I want to hear all the benefits of working with a publisher like yourself.
Yeah. Well, you know the journey whenever you're going in blind and you don't know where to put your energies. And one of the things that I always ask a client when, an author, whenever I have my initial conversation with them is, what is the dream? What is the goal? What is the North Star that you want to achieve? And then you work towards that. The production, all of that will be the same and happen. But what is it that you want to achieve? What are we going to focus our energy on making happen? And then we put a plan in place for that. So if some people want to be on, in Australia, it's called Big W, like Big W shelves. It's kind of like a Walmart shelves. They want their books in store, or Barnes and Noble and all of those types of things. Yes, well then that's what we navigate that for. Other people want their book out to be picked up by influencers, or to have an omnipresence around their book launch time. So that's where we would connect them with opportunities that aligned with that. And usually we would invest in it for them. It would be part of their package. So we would customize a package that would have this podcast, and because we have our connections, and then recommended, and it's always to the audience that is aligned with the book. There's no point in just going and showing up everywhere. If the audience isn't aligned, you're just wasting your time and their time. And that's very important. But yeah, we have worked very hard to build up. Um, we're able to take on a book and guide someone through the process. And we have had lots of authors come on. We've guided them through the process, and then they have the skills then to go, because there are more than one books in a person. They then have the skills to go on and learn and build upon that and find their own way. There's nothing more wonderful than an author who embodies their authorship and is so connected to the book and just takes the baton and runs with it. Like, it's just, I smile when I sit back and look at some of my authors who are out there killing it and just going out there and getting opportunities. But for that, because we build confidence where we've got someone's back, they always know that we're there behind them to support them at any step of the journey. And that, I think, I've seen is a difference between self-publishing and hybrid publishing, where you've got an author or a publisher representing you as well.
Mhm. So
Mm.
good. The power of that cover. I want to hear a little pep talk from you on why covers are so important in the I mean, every step of the way is important. The
Yeah,
interior, the editing, the promotion, the marketing, actually, the content. But why
yeah.
is that cover so critical?
Well, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but a book is always judged by its cover, because quality speaks volumes. You really want to talk to your market, your target market, through the cover, David. It's just, I cannot stress how important it is. And like, I quite often, for my own books personally, I will revive the covers on the books every 5 years, because it gives them a new life into the market. And the audience, because things change a lot. So a cover is what will connect with your audience, or catch. You don't have marketing if you don't have a good cover, because you can do all the marketing in the world, but if your cover doesn't look high quality, as if it connects with the reader, then you may as well save your marketing budget, really, because it
Mhm.
has to. It's one of the things I would never compromise on, is a good cover.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I have learned that over the course of my journey. I have done many of the covers myself
Yeah.
initially, and because of my background in graphic design, I've done the interior of almost
Yes.
of all my books, and
Yes.
I feel comfortable doing that. But
Yeah.
I have an incredible cover graphic designer do with my last two books, and it probably cost, I can't remember, I think around
Yes.
$1,500 per cover on that process, and
Hmm.
it's a million times better
Yeah.
than what I could do. And,
It
it
does.
really is. It makes a
They
huge
know shelf appeal. Like, they study book covers. They know you're paying for all of that research they've done. You're paying not just for the design. They know what sells to your genre. So they know their stuff, and it's so worth it. And yeah, whenever they should present to you a few options, and you're
Yes,
going, and you just know straight away the one, don't you, David? You just know it whenever you see it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, Talk to me about Duchess Serenity Press. I'm very
Yes.
curious about this, how this came about. Explain
Yes.
it to us.
Oh, the story about the story. I love it. So Duchess Serenity Press is where I have partnered with the Duchess of York to publish her children's books, and also YA we broached out into as well. So a few years ago, 2018, 19, this is all my power of knowing stuff that I write about, and things like that. So I happened to see the Duchess at one of my friends' events, and it was being streamed on Facebook. I would never ordinarily be watching things on Facebook at that time. I think I was in Ireland at the time in my parents' house. And I happened to see that she was hosting this event for my friend. And my thought train was, oh, there's the Duchess of York. She used to write Budgie the Little Helicopter. My son loved Budgie Little Helicopter. I wonder would she like to do a book for Serenity Press? So I just actioned that thought train straight away and I Googled who was her agent and I got in contact with her literary agent and must have written the best contact form submission ever. And 2 weeks later, and I always wish I had a copy of that, but I don't. And 2 weeks later, I got an email from the Duchess's business manager saying, "Hello, Karen. Um, Thank you for your email. We would love to talk to you. Um, are you available on this day at this time?" And of course, you just say yes, even though it was the worst time ever because I was on holidays with my 5 kids with 5 of my kids on my own, and Mary was 3, and Mary is a Mary. She's just like was full on. There's no quietness in the background whenever Mary's. So, and I just went, yes, sure, no problem. So that day came, and the whole day was spent trying to get Mary asleep for 5 p.m., which was the call in in Australia, and 10 a.m. in the UK. And they messaged and said, "Can we meet 45 minutes earlier?" And I was like, "No, but yes." And I just got on the phone, and I said, "Hey, please ignore any background noise. I'm on holidays with my kids, but I can't wait to talk." And I think that that was endearing for them as well. So anyway, from that step, we talked. They sent me 2 books that had been illustrated already and that they wanted to get out there. So we worked on those first 2 books. It was a really positive, great process. So then we ended up signing a 22-book deal, and now I work with the Duchess in Duchess Serenity Press, and we have so many creative projects. And the Duchess just came out to Australia on her Australian tour at the beginning of November, and that was just like the reception that she got and those queues of people, like it was so we didn't expect it, and there's so and she made sure that she signed every single book for every single person that came out to meet her, and she was amazing. So yeah, beautiful.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Mm.
What are the biggest challenges that you see first time authors facing as they
Mm.
come to you? And what is the advice that you would give them to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, really not knowing where to put their energy because they'll authors will get overwhelmed with the process. There's so many things to learn. So just you need to allow yourself, if you're doing this yourself, allow yourself to be guided each step of the way. Don't think of the whole picture. Think of each step and master each step along the way and learn. And know you're going to make mistakes, but it's okay. It's all a learning process. Okay. And so I have authors come to me after going through that process and just realize that being guided, I suppose, and helped is beneficial. So yeah, most authors come to me because they just don't know the process or what they do. And I was like, well, you're going to learn with me because I don't just publish your book. I'm going to teach you the ins and outs of it so that you know whenever, you're going to understand the process as well. So because that's empowering for an author to know what's going on behind the scenes. And I'd be like, I'm an open book. Ask me any question because every single author will ask different questions along the way. I could do the recently, most asked questions, but every single author has different priorities, different, things that they want to to experience. So I just give them that personal touch is just so important. So yeah, there are a lot of unknowns whenever you step into authorship. So it is by leading and trusting and having faith in the process and that you will be guided every step of the way. And there's no one size fits all. Yes, there's production things to all those, the editing process, the typesetting process, all of those things still have to be done, but the authorship journey you will be guided on, and there's no one size fits all. But there is, I promise you that whenever you publish your first book, it will open doors that you never even knew were there. And that's the exciting part of it. So focus as much as you can on the positives, and the challenges are there to help you grow and learn more about it. So don't give up, just keep going. Perseverance.
Hmm. I know one of the big projects that you have going on right now is the Hear Us Roar anthology
Mm.
series. Talk to us about this. What's your vision behind this? How many books are involved in it? There's a film, I believe. Walk us through it.
Yeah. Oh, this this project came roaring into my life 2 years ago, and I happened to actually stumble across a pre-made book cover that had a lion's face on it. And you know, a pre-made book covers, you know, it just as something just hits you, you'll just buy it because they're not very expensive. You buy it, and I put it in, I had it in my inbox, and I never. And then all of a sudden, I had been helping so many business owners with their anthologies. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to serve my authors and bring them all together into an anthology. And we're going to market it, and we're going to celebrate this book, but also their own books as well, make it all visible. So I did a call out for Heroes Roar Lion Edition on Courage and Perseverance. And it was filled in 2 weeks with 34 people. And I was like, wow. And any bit of energy I put into this book, just it just it just was unbelievable, the results we were getting. So I went ahead and went ahead with that project, and then all of a sudden it became very clear. It was like there's more books in this series, and over one weekend we created all 8 book covers with all different animals on the front, and each one with a different theme, and set out on a quest to fill them up. And so, and then it came to me, we're going to do a docu-film. We're going to interview everybody in the book, because I had been part of Mom's Rising, which is a Think and Grow Rich movie. And I had been filmed for that at a castle retreat that I host. And so I knew the process, and I was just like, video and words, so powerful, just so powerful. It's like a match made in heaven. So I started to explore that, and then I set up my own Apple TV channel to put the docufilms on. So I travel around Australia and the world. Wherever I am at an event, I will host a launch and filming day for the series. And but what I have discovered, David, is it brings everybody. We have 160 people as part of the project right now, and it brings everybody together in different locations. It's really good for visibility. We get professional photographs done. We have a videographer there. It's so high vibe and wonderful. But what the thing that I didn't expect, and what came out of it, is the connection that everyone has under this umbrella of Heroes Roar. And so it's growing. We're bringing in speaking opportunities now. We're bringing in a leadership circle. It's all just growing into this huge thing that started with one book. It's just beautiful. So yeah, very powerful. The power of story in motion is that Hero Shore series. I love it.
And there are still opportunities to participate in the series. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We would love for you, if this calls to you, to come ahead and reach out to me, or just come and check out Heroes Roar on Facebook. We have a nice group in there, and just come and check it out. Yes, absolutely. We have 4 more books to fill. And so yeah, it's there's lots of opportunities.
And so, for someone who's not familiar with an anthology book and you say
Mhm.
4 more books to fill, what does that mean? What are the
Mhm.
opportunities there for people?
So the opportunities are that if you resonate with the theme and the book, then you request to be part of it. And an anthology is a collective of authors all coming together, writing around 2,500 words on the theme, and then everyone just being celebrated and marketed, and all of that visibility together. It's a very connected experience. And because we've got each individual books, which is like each individual families as it is. But we also have the collective umbrella of everyone being part of it. You know, people from, it doesn't matter if we're launching Lion, people from Lioness and Puma and all of those different Black Panthers and all those will still come, and it's all a celebratory experience because they're part of the Heroes Roar book and docu film series. Yeah.
I love that. So, of course, we'll put the link to the Hear Us Roar opportunity in our show notes, but
Yeah.
it's on kpwofficial.com, and we'll put the
Yes.
link directly in the show notes. Talk to me about the fact that you are now a Napoleon Hill Institute coach.
Yes.
What can you offer people? How can you help someone in their life and career? And maybe it's even a better place to start before you answer that question with, if people are not familiar, who is Napoleon Hill?
Yes, as if I don't have enough going on, David. I Napoleon Hill Institute really called to me because after reading Think and Grow Rich a few years ago, I discovered that I have been living the Think and Grow Rich principles for so much of my life, especially in the years where I've been, achieving things. I was unconsciously doing it, and that was probably lent to the fact that this book, Think and Grow Rich, was published in 1937 by Napoleon Hill, who was given a task by Andrew Carnegie to interview 500 of America's the highest paying people, and he would introduce them to him, but he wasn't going to pay him to do it, and it was going to take him 25 years to do it. Now, most people would have said no, but Andrew Carnegie give Napoleon Hill, like, I think 30 seconds to say yes. And Napoleon Hill did say yes, and he went on this quest and had the most amazing experiences, and was introduced to all of the big, like the Henry Fords, and all of the some of the presidents, all of the people who had. And Andrew Carnegie himself started with nothing. He had nothing, and then he was one of the biggest. He had so much, accumulated wealth by the time he passed away, but he's very much about charity and about giving to people. So it was just beautiful. So he counseled um, Napoleon Hill and shared with him the secret, and they came together with this formula. And over those 25 years, these 13 principles were born. Well, actually, those 17 principles in the Law of Success, which is a much thicker book than Think and Grow Rich, but that was stopped from being published. So then Think and Grow Rich was born itself. And what I love about Think and Grow Rich is it shares stories. It talks about the story about Edwin C. Barnes, who just jumps on a freight train and wanted to be Thomas Edison's partner. And he was dressed like a tramp, but as he says, he was dressed like a tramp, but he came in with a mindset of a king. He came in and just approached and said, "This is going to happen. I'm just letting you know, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes." And he worked his way from the bottom up, and was there when his opportunity came to step into partnership with Thomas Edison. So there's so many inspiring stories that all have such profound teachable moments in them. And I realized a connection between the Think and Grow Rich principles and the book that I had been writing, which is Master Gifts. Master Gifts, Permission to Live Without Fear and on Purpose. And I had lived each one of my master gifts one a year for 7 years. And so there's mindfulness, knowing, all of those things. And there's 7 of them, so I done a year of each, and the year of intention was my $1,000,000 year. I called it the miracle of intent. So I wrote and published one of those books every single year for 7 years, and the journey, like you can see the journey in my writing of myself evolving, and then I put them all together in one book called Master Gifts. And then I realized the identification with intention is actually the first principle, which is desire. You have to get very clear on what it is you want. Once you get clear on what it is you want, everything else, and commit to it, everything else will fall into place. So my book is much a softer read. But many of the greats like Tony Robbins, like Oprah, you know, um, lots of the great people have read Think and Grow Rich as the foundation of their learnings, and then they have took that baton and made their own out of it, their own empires, their own, but all with the intention of serving others and helping them master themselves. And that's what this is beautiful. And Napoleon Hill has written many, many books. And the last book that he wrote, because he started to get spiritual at the end, he wasn't spiritual at the beginning. He wrote Think and Grow Rich with Peace of Mind, which is a really, really great read. And it was published in 1970, and he died that year. So it was just, yeah, it's really profound. So why NHI? Well, I my purpose on earth is to help people awaken from their slumber, because I too many people are walking around asleep to their potential and we're in the world, I believe. So this being part of NHI and hosting the self-discipline camp, which is also like a self-mastery camp, which like disrupts your, disrupts the norm and gets people thinking bigger and wider and getting results really quickly and seeing changes in their life instantly with just 1 power hour a day. So we start our day on this. So I get up and I lead this camp, and we'll do a meditation that really opens up your heart, ready for receiving. And you can receive guidance. You also got to do your gratitudes. You write down your definite chief aim. You really hone into it. And I was running this camp for a few weeks, and the results people were getting was just like blowing my mind. I was like, this, and it's such a beautiful way to start the day. Like, I see my life so much brighter, and it changes the lens for you, and you start to see opportunities, you start to experience inspired thoughts, you start to, and that's before you even move into the mentorship program and move into coaching and all of those things. So I'm training to be a coach for them so that I can go in and serve and help people to reach their full potential, because we need more people in the world seeing the light within themselves and being the best version of themselves. We need to focus. It's all the answers are within, and then we can lean outwards for the support to make it happen. It's so important.
Mm,
Mm.
amazing. If people want to get involved with the Napoleon Hill Institute and the program that you're talking about, what would be the best path for them?
You can reach out to me or any of the Napoleon Hill Institute coaches, or just go to napoleonhillinstitute.com, and there's lots of amazing free content there. If you want to read Think and Grow Rich, let me just share this. This is the original book. Look at my bookmark. It's a $10 note I was gifted.
Nice.
Yeah, there's so much gold in here, but you can actually download a free version to read straight away on napoleonhillinstitute.com under free resources. Okay.
And you've been a part of this movie called Mom's Rising. That's a Think and Grow Rich project. What is this film? How can people watch it?
Yes. So Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy was the first movie. So it's very much based on this book. And then the producer, Scott Servine, who's amazing, he decided that the Thomas Edison story, where Thomas Edison was at school and he was sent home because they said he was unteachable, that he was dumb and that he couldn't be taught. And his mother was read the letter, and she opened it, and and she read the letter, and she didn't read what was on the letter. She said, "This boy is too smart for school. We need you to teach him yourself." And so the whole movie comes from the essence of that. And so there's lots of us mums from all over the world who've come in and been part of this movie. There's a premiere this year. So all of that thing. So you can't really see it yet. It has been launched in Africa and in Czech. And so now it's coming around the rest of the world. We will be bringing it for some premieres around Australia, but I will, there's going to be premieres everywhere, and then we'll share the link. But yeah, you can't just watch it yet. It's not released yet.
Well, we'll
But
put
it's
the
amazing. I've seen it, I've watched it. It's really good. And I get a few good little scenes in it. So yeah, I'm happy.
wonderful. We'll put a link to get more information about that on your website as well.
Yes. Yes.
And so, what's the best way for people if they have got a book inside of them,
Mm,
perhaps, or they want to be a part of the Heroes War anthology, or maybe they need coaching? What's the best way for people to reach out to you and follow you?
yeah. Well, I'm pretty active on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. You can get me there. And or just come to the website, put through your contact form, and we will follow up with you. I've got my most perfect EA. I manifested her, and I'm just smiling because whenever you've got that missing thing in your life. So yeah, I get to stay in my genius zone now of the creation and of the story. So yes, so Rhea will be in touch.
kpwofficial.com or on Instagram, Karen P. Weaver Official.
Yes, that's it.
Karen, you embody, exude. Um, I'm trying to think of another E. Oh, what is it? Embody, exude.
Enthusiasm.
Yes, well, enthusiasm. Yes, you do that for sure. But I was going to
Uh,
say a heart of service. That is
yes,
what I was going to say, that you embody
yes.
and exude a heart of service. to the
Yes.
world because you want to see people awaken through the power of story. It's so clear, it's so beautiful. And thank you so much for the ways that you're making a difference in our world. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for saying that and sharing that, David, and for an opportunity to reach your viewers, because it's all about story. It's all about coming and sharing our stories that may ignite something within someone, light that spark, and just make a real difference in their lives. And then everyone around them benefits. It's a ripple effect. So you took the first step by giving me the platform to come and share it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.